Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 2 in this best of 3. It's going to be Rave Gaming versus Tongfu.OB. Rave, the lone remaining non-Chinese contender here at I-League yesterday, or 2 days ago, saw Power Rangers get knocked out of the tournament, as well as, who was the other team? Who else was it? Yeah. Who was it, Blaze?
Virtus Pro.
Virtus Pro, yeah. It's been a crazy few days trying to get all the patch notes, getting my head wrapped around them. So yeah, forgot who else was playing in this tournament. That was on 6.81, but yeah, it's been all about 6.82 lately. And with that said, we head into game 2 now with OB holding a 1-0 advantage. They win this game. The old boys will be into the grand finals. Granted, I think a lot of people would agree with the sentiment that they had the easier side of the bracket. IG, Newbie, Vici Gaming. To some extent, maybe even LGD CDEC, the more threatening teams, the teams that look stronger coming into this tournament. But with that said, hey, a win's a win here for OB, and if they can pull it off, then they'll go to the grand finals, and they'll get to fight for the lion's share of the prize. But as for Rave Gaming, they'll be on the dire side this time around, and there was actually a bit of chit-chat in the lobby. I think they may have wanted something else instead of just the second pick on the dire side. Not sure if that was just first pick and maybe go on Radiant again, or if they wanted to pick Dire and hope that OB takes second pick. I'm not sure what they had in mind, but either way, they're not getting exactly what they want. It's just a straight swap after game 1, so we'll see if that affects them too much draft wise. And a hero that was banned second stage last game around picked up in the first. I honestly think by the end of this week, this hero will be a fairly frequent first phase ban. I'm not saying every game, but the way that he's been performing in pubs and in the competitive games I've seen him, Spectre is just one of the best heroes in this patch.
No, most definitely. I mean, the ability to get kills without risking yourself in a global sense is what's pushed up the win rate of heroes like Spectre and Zeus in general. On top of that, Spectre is one of the best heroes when it comes down to late game gold density heroes. The ones that create the most value out of a single item slot, out of a single 6k pickup or whatever. It's definitely Spectre is in the top 4 of that guaranteed. You can still argue that she may not be the hardest carry, but she can do a hell of a lot with a 6 slot. And in this case, yeah, there's so much potential for her to get just one casual kill with an illusion hidden with a Desolate, and you get a little bit of net worth. It goes a long way for her. So already I'm favoring the Radiant draft here, the old boys, picking up heroes that are just darn tanky. I mean, with the dispersion, with the Drunken Brawler, these heroes are going to survive a long time through the fights, and it's going to be putting a lot of pressure on Rave to kind of seal the deal as early as possible, or to pick up heroes that follow that vein of thought.
Yeah, I'm with you there. We'll see a Shadow Shaman banned up by Rave right now, and then the Necrolite that OB used in the last game removed this time around by them. It's never a hero that I don't know if Rave have ever run it. I've definitely never seen it from them, and it's certainly not one of their go-to heroes. But they clearly value it highly. And you know, Blaze, you used the phrase, which I think is a really interesting way to look at it, of maybe this will be the dawn of a new immortality meta. And you know, that's the one thing with the Wraith King, but then you have the solution to immortality here in the Necrolite. The infinite buybacks, the expensive ones that still end up paying for themselves. Necrolite can put an end to all that, potentially with his Axe upgrade, and perhaps this is his patch if it sticks around like this for long. But for now, yeah. Tidehunter will get removed by Rave, and they go for a Centaur. So a little bit more of an aggressive ganking style lineup than last game.
Definitely. It's kind of a situation where the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And heroes like Necrophos and Enigma really thrive on high HP heroes. So I think that there's a lot of merit to taking him out. The Enigma's still in the pool. We'll see if that's something that wants to be considered. But for now, yeah, Rave are going for this high activity lineup where they just want to, every Stampede, every Doom cooldown, find a kill. So they'll sync those up as best as they can, be able to chase targets down quite readily. And I think we're going to see the Refresher Orb come out for the Doom a lot sooner than we saw the last time. Agadam's Refresher almost needs to be rushed out to really make the impact that he wants in this game, and we'll see how it works out. But here we go. Something very new indeed. Terrorblade coming out, a very powerful carry in his own right. Hard to compete with Spectre when it comes down to late game, but the cool thing is this guy doesn't always have to wait for the late game. He can push very early on. At level 7, puts out massive damage with Metamorphosis, and yeah, he's a very interesting hero that, as well as kind of a counteractive measure to those with high HP, the percentage-based factor of Sunder.
He is very squishy in the lane. At the same time, I don't know if OB are that well positioned to punish it with the Spectre pick. Difficult to see how they would go aggressive this game unless they maybe just like kind of sack the Spectre mid. But I mean, we don't see that. We did see a Spectre mid yesterday, actually.
Really?
So it was against the Faceless Void, to be fair, and he had Lich support early on. Then the Lich left the lane, and as you would expect, Spectre got completely shut down and crushed, and took a long time to come online. In this patch, Terrorblade has a 48.9% win rate, and actually, in the last patch, he had a 46% win rate. So it's definitely not one of the stronger heroes in pubs, but again, if you given the situation where we're not seeing too much aggression in the lanes, I think it is a recipe where Terrorblade could offer a lot.
Yeah, we'll have to see exactly how he's used. Obviously, we saw some great JO play on the Templar Assassin. Maybe he's the one to pick up the Terrorblade. We'll have to see. But yeah, this TB has a lot of potential as long as he's not taking a lot of magical nuke. Right now, the negative armor isn't going to be that impactful against him because, of course, he still is going to have a lot of base armor in general in a decent agi game. But this Ancient Apparition pick is interesting. While it doesn't prevent the Sunder from healing Terrorblade, it's just a straight swap of HP. So it's not actually a heal. In either case, it is going to be a nice bit of magical nuke. They can amplify any magic damage that comes his way. And you see Avenge, Ancient Apparition, roaming combo, putting pressure out that way. I definitely think there's a lot of kill potential there anyways.
And I'm wondering about Nature's Prophet now. That's what I'm wondering about for OB.
Yeah.
And Rave were thinking the same thing. They'll fan it out. Oh, man. That would have... I was like, okay, so are they Zeusing here? They can't really do that because they've got a Brewmaster. All right, what's the next best thing?
Lane.
Prophet.
Go Zeus mid. I don't
this
know.
used to be a really good combo. There was a game that I cast when I just started covering. Or actually, no, this was even before I started casting. I just started watching Dota 1 competitive play after TI2 or after TI1. Like, not many people got the beta right, and I didn't have it. So I started getting back into Dota 1. I had taken a break from it for a few years, and I saw a team run a Prophet Refresher Aghanim's and Spectre Radiant strat, and it was amazing back then. And these heroes have only gotten buffed since then. And you throw an Ancient Apparition on top of that, could be an amazing combo. Not going to happen this time around, though. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they go for instead.
And you do not want to see a Bloodseeker in that mix. I was testing it out in the test client before the patch even hit. Blood Rage, you can have it on 2 heroes at a time. Putting it on Ag's Refresher, Furion, and the Zeus, you can just do, like, easy 2,000 damage to everyone. No problem at all. It's absolutely insane how much you can actually output there. But
it's pretty crazy. Good news is Bloodseeker is not in Captain's mode. For anyone who's wondering, we're not going to see him. But in the future, if he stays the way he is, it's kind of an interesting rework for him. But yeah. I haven't got a chance to play him yet, so I've only seen him on the other team so far.
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons to his rework. I think that the big deal right now is that Blood Rage applying to spells with massive range. If you're hitting somebody over 1,000 range away with any of your
full
spells,
bonus damage,
the enhancement, you're getting the full benefits of it without any of the risk. I think Blood Rage is supposed to be a risk reward type spell, and it probably needs to have some range limitations on its enhancing effects. But other than that, it's pretty cool, and I think it is a nice creative mechanic to give new life to the hero. But obviously, like you said, we'll have to see him maybe patch through a little bit more before we actually get to see him compete.
It's kind of unique in that regard as well. Like, you look at Open Wounds as another example to me. I've always loved the fact it's the only way in the game that you can vamp, basically. I think is that what they call it in League? Vamp?
Spell vamp.
Yeah, where you can actually heal from your nukes. Dota doesn't really have that mechanic, but Open Wounds is unique in that regard. So I always like to see new mechanics along those lines introduced, but it can be very, very potent, I guess is the way to put it. Rave will now work on their final pick. Let's see. They've got the Lich. They've got the Terrorblade. They'll need another support here. And they'll go for one that deals fairly well with the Spectre and the Brew. I'm kind of liking this Disruptor pick this game, Blaze.
Yeah, there's some good potential with combining it with some abilities like the Chain Frost as well. But the big thing here is preventing the split and sending the Spectre home after she realities in. Now, it's not as strong as it used to be because the reality is now like a 0-second cooldown. You just can reality to one, then reality to another very, very quickly. But if you use it on pretty much the tail end of the spell, you still should be able to send Spectre back from whence she came, and there's a good chance you'll only be able to contribute the Haunt to the team fights. So some real value there. And in general, just a good hard support. They needed one to kind of place down the wards, to stick to the lanes, and Yeah, we'll see what they can accomplish with it. A lot of good silence potential, a lot of good disable, but again, I'm kind of afraid of when Raves start tapering off. The Doom Refresher, great. Terrorblade, very powerful, but in the end, if the game goes long enough, I still have to give the edge to Tongfu.OB.
Yeah, I think the way you put it earlier, that it's a safe way to get kills, is a big deal in the late game. Unlike the Terrorblade, who is actually often putting himself in harm's way if he's relying at all on Sunder. And for now, he goes towards mid. We may see a Lich Terrorblade dual lane mid.
I can dig it.
Okay.
It's really powerful. Yeah, the high base armor on the hero as well as Poor Man's Shield makes him very hard to bring down, and Cass gives him all the space he really needs.
Yeah, and it also makes him a little bit less vulnerable to that potential for an aggressive tri-lane, which would be a Spectre tri-lane, but there would be an Ancient Apparition in the mix as well. So you have to fear it a bit. And with that, Blaze, we can introduce our teams here. The Old Boys leading 1-0 in this best of 3. They're 1 win away from the Grand Finals of I-League. And if they get there, well, they could have a date with either IG or Vici Gaming. That best of 3 coming up shortly after this one. We have Xiao8 playing your Puck. He's come out of retirement on loan for 15 days to assist some of his old friends. Long DD on the Ancient Apparition. DD on the Brewmaster mid. He's been getting to play a core role with this team, which is kind of a nice change of pace for someone who played so many years of support for LGD. You've got Joe as the offlane Spectre, and that leaves 820. It's got to be one of the longest retirements for a Dota player ever, but he's actually come back out of it, at least for now, on the Vengeful Spirit. And on the dire side, we'll have Chrissy handling the Doom, going to the offlane. Cast will be your Lich, dual laney mid with Jayo's Terrorblade. That puts Ryo onto the top lane on the Centaur War Runner. It'll be 2 games in a row now, Blaze, where OB get both of the 0-minute runes, the Bounty rune and the Haste rune in this case. And last but not least, Ninja Boogie support and Ryo as that safe lane farming Centaur.
Yeah, so I'm curious if they're going to commit anything more to the bottom lane here. Long DD looks to be, after placing wards, just hasting towards mid, hasting towards top, and I think he might want to actually stay in mid just a little short span of time to give DD a little bit of space. Jay is actually using Metamorphosis instantly in the lane. Wants to get this last hit advantage, wants to harass back DD, and yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to give him the early CS to build up some gold momentum, but I don't think I've ever seen it used that way.
I've never seen it used this early on. It's normally like you kind of wait until your support comes in. Lich has at least Frost Blast in this case so that you can slow them and try and chase them down a bit with the, what's it called, the Reflection as well. But yeah, he just, purely for CS. I guess the one thing is if you use it right now, the second usage will be ready as quickly as possible. So Jayo trying to slow down the Brewmaster bottle, but and with that 700 gold cost will be a bit harder for DD to pick up. Still, he has 2 tangos, and you still have that passive gold gain, so he'll only really need 1 or 2 CS here to get it at a reasonable time.
Yeah, so it's a 2 versus 2 on the top lane as well. I don't think that H1 can trade nearly as well as Ninja Boogie when it comes down to nukes. And we actually see the stun coming out onto Zhou, so he's not going to go down here, but going to take some pretty big hits, and it's a good thing that he brought a lot of HP regen. But with H20 using his salve, they don't have that much sustain here, and yeah, we could see that Zhou might be forced back once and his CS limited, so pretty good for Rave in that regard.
I'm kind of liking Jaya's usage of that ult early. I mean, they would have gotten a lot of the CS anyway, just because they're dual lane and they have a Lich, but he's 11-4. This Brewmaster has yet to get a creep. 0-0. He can't even use the second pool Tango. And I'm actually wondering if he may even be forced to go base, as Long DD nearly gets off a cold feet, but can't quite do it on Chrissy, and will be forced back in the end, as the rotation from Cast comes in.
Now Rave, round 2, they get the runes.
Man, that's a big win in the mid lane. 0-0 Brew has to walk back to base.
Yeah.
Lane's over. He'll buy his
Let's see if they
bottle
buy
now.
him a TP. I think the teammates really should buy him a TP here, otherwise it's a huge commitment to walk all the way back to base. But yeah, they're not. Oh, there it is. Finally on the ground. He's going to TP back to the tier 1, and he does have the bottle now. So he's going bottom.
Alright, they're putting Xiao8 mid.
Makes sense.
He'll do a little bit better for CS here, and also just not as likely to put himself in harm's way. But he's also squishier, and when Jayo gets his second Metamorphosis, which is about to cool down, this second round could be very painful for the Puck.
But they don't have any way of stopping him from at least jaunting out,
That's
so
true.
They will harass him pretty heavily, but they're not going to get a kill on him, not without a huge mistake. So there's value in making the rotation, just giving somebody that can survive against this dual lane a little bit, as well as get a few CS here and there. Can't use the orb offensively too often, but when you get the window of opportunity where they're not close enough, then of course you get nice damage. On top, Ninja Boogie again, that harassment. It's just going to be him just continuously putting pressure out with the Thunder Strikes, and Yeah, they're going to be very quickly running out of regen. They only have one salve left on Zhou. So, although the lane has been a bit of a wash as far as CS goes, Centaur has a small lead here. Actually, 7 CS is not too bad, but it's not going to be forced back until they start getting aggressive with their spells.
It overall is looking pretty good for Rave, I would say. The Spectre's not farming well. He is getting his levels, but your Terrorblade's free farming mid lane. You're shutting down Xiao 8 now, who got most of his CS earlier on in the bottom lane. And your Doom can catch up easier than any of these heroes can on the side of OB. It's sometimes hard to remember their names. They don't have it up in the top left. But yeah, we'll see the Terrorblade using his illusion here to try and deny the top rune. Well, they also go to control the bottom rune. And I will say that's the one thing that Rave has impressed me with. They've been one of the better teams to just consistently secure both runes whenever they have the lineup to do it. This is now like the third or fourth time in just the past laning stage where they've done it, and they go in on Xiao 8 mid lane. They're gonna dive him here, but the creep wave doesn't cooperate. Blocks Jo out, who doesn't have boots yet. He went for the early bracer. Generally, what you'll see on Terrorblade is just like things like bracer, Reed of Aquila, early drums, treads. You need your stats on this hero. He's just so damn squishy without it.
Yeah, most definitely. So, I mean, we'll get that build up there, but yeah, Zhao is in a position where he's just going to be forced under tower. The denies are actually quite valuable, not 50%. So as long as they can keep sacrificing consistently, as we see Cass moving back on the wave to do, they get the experience. Zhao Wei does not. And despite being a 2 versus 1, they're actually going to be leading in levels. Of course, there was rotations involved. You have to factor that in. But in general, this lane is just meant to dominate entirely in terms of experience early and cause kill threats once they get some more rotations in. Maybe the Disruptor gets a little more. But for right now, Ninja Boogie has not been pulling at all. I've noted this, but I don't think he's done a single legit pull to get some independent golden experience. And although he's been zoning quite well, he definitely needs to get a little bit more for himself, stand on his own feet, as it were. And yeah, I think that this is kind of a long time coming for him to actually build up his own experience.
I guess his thinking is, I really just do not want the Spectre getting farm. We've seen what the Spectre does with the increased bounties whenever she does get kills later on, and you definitely don't want her to also get off to a hot start and then have the potential for ending streaks later on in the game.
But he did go for just like single pull right here, so he's actually going to end up pushing out the lane, and Spectre is going to be farming under her tower very shortly. So as long as Zhou is on point with the last hits, not only is he getting experience for what happens under this tower, but he very well could be seeing his creep wave under the tower.
It's also kind of transformed into just an offlane Spectre at this point, because they don't have supports there. Those supports are mid, and they're looking for a potential pickoff. Jo will pick up the bounty rune, and he's going to reveal the smoke and not get caught. 820 couldn't get in range. Xiao 8 doesn't have coil. So Jo, big plays by him, whether he knew the smoke was coming or not, able to reveal it and back off safely. And a lot of wasted time now for OB. This will help make up for the Disruptor's slowness in the top lane to begin the pulls.
Yeah, but we're going to see movement against Chrissy, perhaps. He does have Primal Split, though, so really they only, again, can only harass.
Are you seeing this? We've got an Invis Lich with no boots roaming to the bottom. This is kind of funny. There's no Doom yet either. Alright, he's going to buy his boots now.
Without the Doom. Oh, he's actually going to have to try to counter gank, but I mean, what can you do in this situation?
Top lane, there's a double edge on the show, nearly killing him off, not quite. And they'll now brew split and try and counter gank, like you said, Cast throwing out the nuke, but they'll chase Chrissy out a bit. And even with the Stampede, I'm not sure it's enough for him to get out safely. They Fire Pin, it continues to do its work. Oh, it is just enough to keep Chrissy alive. He'll end up surviving. Long DD is going to be your first blood. It's a bridge too far for him. He overextends. He'll end up going down. And Ninja Boogie has time now to make his way to this bottom lane. He glimpses DD back in, but this just allows DD to start chasing him even further. Oh, one more auto tech. Maybe it works out at the end here for Ninja Boogie. He turns to auto tech. He could have just kept on running. Ninja Boogie, what are you doing? Well, still a 2-for-1.
Getting that easy experience, I suppose. I don't know. In this situation, he definitely wasn't dead if he just started running away, but all the same, he got a little bit greedy. If he had actually gotten the crit a little bit earlier, just the RNG one, then there was a good chance that he could just get out alive while getting the super kill, but then once he didn't get that crit, he had already committed himself. He just says, screw it, I'll get the kill before I die, and that's enough for him, I suppose. Not great, but manageable before this level 6 comes out on the Doom, but that'll be very soon. One more creep, maybe 2, and he is going to be running that ulti, and that's going to be very difficult to fight against.
I'm really interested to see how much impact Jo can have, because he's been given pretty much free farm. We'll pick up a rune now. Xiao 8 does have his ultimate, but you have to be very cautious about the Sunder. And with the Silence only level 1 and already used, it's going to be difficult to prevent. Meanwhile, 820 will secure the bounty rune top lane. and Raver on the smoke blaze. They're moving this Lich all over the place. He's already got Chain Frost picked up. They want to shut down that damn Spectre, and I think they're about to do it. Stampede in on the show. He's trapped in. I don't even think they need the Chain Frost, I was about to say, but, well, they'll use it anyway. They do get the kill, and they guarantee he's not going to be haunting out of there or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a good guarantor because they don't have the silence just yet. So one way or another, I think that LT was necessary, and yeah, they do just make sure that that's not going to be an issue. Spectre will probably just rotate away from the offlane though. Like she's had an okay time up here, getting 24 CS, getting her levels. Now she can just move across the map elsewhere. Going up top, it's going to be the same state of affairs. But we'll just be going for that early Urn of Shadows build up. Maybe good against the Blink Dagger on the Centaur or something like that, but otherwise just good for some raw durability. Makes its way up top, though, and Joe is perfectly happy to get the experience for now and make the illusions do the work for him.
So, as I was touching on, Terrorblade has incredibly poor base strength, so you really want to build a lot of strength on the hero, and that is what we see now from Jo. Power chart's picked up, he's got his Bracer out as well, 700 gold to boot. Common builds on this hero, we see Ring of Aquila sometimes. Drums are very, very common and a likely possibility here, as there's a smoke from OB. Can also go straight towards your Manta style, but those are generally some of the major core items you could expect to see, and I'd be surprised if Jo doesn't go for at least one of those. But look for the bottom gank now, though. They get the cold feet out on Chrissy, and, well, not really going anywhere at that point. They'll just accept his fate.
Nice movement there. There's a lot of gank potential onto the Dire offlane if you actually just commit the supports. One thing that I haven't seen yet, but I've tested out in the client, there's a huge amount of potential to go for big wraparound smoke ganks around this area here, because when you walk down the west channel, down near the Dire Tier 1, your smoke doesn't actually break until this point here. I'm absolutely serious. You can go all the way to this point without breaking smoke.
Oh, if you hug the outer end of the tree, gotcha.
Yeah, and by then you're honestly already behind them. You're already in a position to get the kill. So I think that's going to be happening a lot, and it's going to force a long-term Dire to go for a lot more off-lane dual lanes and tri-lanes, more than putting somebody in essentially the suicide lane once again.
Jo now back into Metamorphosis form, and this time it's maxed out. He can start to make those conjure images as well and push in the middle lane. We'll see the first illusion come out, or actually the second. He's already got 2 ranged illusions here, and this tower is going to take a pounding. But they have gone bottom lane. Brewmaster blinked in. He has his fresh Blink Dagger, but he got doomed, so he can't end up using it. And now the Haunt tries to turn this gank, but everyone from Rave sticks together, survives. Jo almost finishing off the tower. This is the threat of the Terrorblade. You leave him alone in a lane, seriously, for 1 Metamorphosis, 2 illusions. If you don't gank him, a Tier 1 will basically die. The Tier 2 is a bit harder to kill now, but now they can go out on Chrissy. It's taken too long for him to retreat out. He overstayed his welcome, and they may end up losing multiple heroes for the... As simultaneously, the push will come through mid. Jo going to fight with Jo for the last hit, but doesn't get it. Jo with the big denies. And Javogi still being pursued. I think he'll end up being fine here. The Brewmaster might even end up paying. DD, now he'll blink out. No glimpse to bring him back in just yet, as on the other side of the engagement, the Vengeful Spirit did end up going down to a nice double edge. Man, Jo got the die against that TB. That's pretty impressive, but to be fair, his ult had just ended.
Yeah, just...
well, I call it his ult. I consider it his ult, basically, the
essentially
Metamorphosis.
I agree with you there. It's definitely... It's the longest cooldown non-ultimate, I believe. At least it's definitely up there, but all the same, yeah, that's his big cooldown. The Sunder is just a nice little icing on the cake type thing that you can use in some clutch scenarios. But yeah, as far as item progression for him, we're going to see the drums now quite clearly, but I'm curious what he goes for next. You mentioned the Manta. You could also consider BKB. I mean, you are up against a Ancient Apparition, Brewmaster, Puck, a lot of stuff you can negate there. But one thing that I will talk about is long-term, when the team fights start breaking out more and more, the Puck might actually consider a second item, Aghanim Scepter. The Blink, obviously, is going to be his first and foremost item, but if you combine Nether Swap with the Aghanim's Dream Coil, you get a guaranteed 4.5-second stun that pierces the unit.
This is not good. Static Storm, Double Edge, Chain Frost. See ya, Jo. But yeah, you were saying about the Puck Aghanims, and we saw it yesterday, Blaze, and it was actually surprisingly effective. Ice 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 built it. Did a lot of work with it, as top lane Jo is in danger here. He'll manage to get off the Sunder, but he still needs the reinforcements to come through. It seems like it's enough to keep him alive. Don't break that coil, Jo. Don't you dare break that. He'll be fine. Apparition ult makes it not so fine, though. We'll end up killing him off. He couldn't get out of the AoE. Like, there was nowhere where that coil wouldn't have broken, where he could have escaped to, and ends up going down.
Painful. I think he could have TP'd.
That's true. If he had known it was coming.
But hard to make that call in that specific situation. So long DD, getting a nice little snipe there, and it's actually Puck to get the last hit on it. But Yeah, now we do see that there's just going to be more farm across the map. The puck gets that blink dagger, and yeah, I mean, essentially, when you're turning your nether swap into a super primal roar with that puck ags, it's just insane. Like, you get that huge long duration disable. It's going to give this Terrorblade a lot of grief, and you can use it in almost any fight. So, we'll see.
I wonder if they even considers like a Linked Sphere at that point just to try and deal with it. But not too common of a pickup for Terrorblades in general. Well, OB, 820, and DD will rotate towards the bottom lane. They have a Blink Dagger, as mentioned earlier, online for the Brute, and they also, more importantly, have the split cooling down. So they might look for a fight here. Jo is going to retreat. We saw the tier 1 fall mid lane, but that was denied, and since then, Rave really not putting much pressure elsewhere on the map. Smoke continues for OB. They can move up the ramp now. DD will be revealed. Ninja Boogie's there in the high ground. A glimpse of back right as the Panda blinks in. Very interesting interaction. He got glimpsed back, then blinked in at a kind of an awkward timing. Bruce split forced out, but then he got sent back anyway, I guess. Oh. So he got sent back like after the split, it looked like? I think he did. He was really far away.
But on the tail end of it, we do see the puck actually gets clipped by the Centaur stun, gets nuked down hardcore.
I think Static Storm's here. Ninja Boogie not wanting to use it though. Double Edge comes through, and they'll end up getting the return kill. 2 cores go down as the puck died over here, and they end up losing the Brute. And more importantly, they blow the split. So they have no way to stop this. Jo on the bottom lane, 4 heroes pushing him mid. And that's a tier 1 down. There can be a glyph here, but there's just no follow-up.
Yeah, at this point, like, they're actually starting to bring in the big team fights with these Stampedes and with these Dooms, and they need to keep this momentum rolling. They need to start taking things off the map, because long-term, the Spectre's going to get pretty huge here. I mean, right now, it's only Urn, Phase, maybe Drum soon, but later it's going to get a lot more. It's going to be hard. It might be Radiance. That probably won't happen because of the fact that 15 minutes and he hasn't even begun to farm it. But, you know, whatever he goes for at this point in the game, he's going to be able to build up to some really huge value items. We're going to see.
And the one thing, Blaze, that I want to mention is this is a very different draft from Rave because they have a carry that can crush buildings. Like, they can end the game early if they get a lead before it gets to that dangerous late game scenario.
I mean, I think that TA is pretty great at pushing, honestly. Oh, that play. Yeah, Ninja Boogie's just like, okay, take my HP, I'll earn, and we'll keep the siege going. Yeah,
and they're going to blink in now, but Ryo doesn't get off the stomp, and then suddenly, actually was out of mana for it after the Stampede, will be turned against. They'll drop the ultimate for the Disruptor, then dooming Chowie just to prevent any further chase. But it is a 1-for-1 trade there, and they get the worst of it in terms of heroes, although they do manage to bring down a tower. So in that sense, I suppose a win. Now, Chrissy TPing out, and no way to cancel this except a stun or a swap, but Venge just out of range to get it off.
I don't know. I mean, in this position, yeah, technically Rave wins out in gold, but as far as the cooldowns used here, this was a fight without Haunt and without Primal Split. It should be a dramatic victory for Rave, and instead it's a 1-for-1, where the tower obviously tilted in their favor, but now they don't have Doom, and for a short time frame, they won't have Stampede either. The Chain Frost probably is the longest CD, though. If you look at it, at level 1, it's 145 seconds, so really the fact that they were fighting with 3 ultimates and essentially OB were fighting with none, just the Ice Blast and the Coil, yeah, I would have to say that OB are okay with losing that tower as long as they can make use of their cooldowns when they come back up.
It's interesting that Sunder works even under the influence of the Ancient Apparition ult.
Yeah, it's like Weaver ulti. It's just a direct HP shift.
In Dota 1, apparently it did not work. I'm looking at some examples now. So I can only assume at this point, because he's been out for a while, that that's kind of an intentional decision by Ice Frog. And he has made a few of those where he's left things in the game that are different. But I was thinking Ancient Apparition is really good against Terrorblade because of that. But I guess he still does help you clear out the illusions quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, in general, it's just a great hero to make sure that people die. Like, you were talking about the global strat earlier, and although it's not seen in full, you just hit 2 or 3 people with that Ice Blast, and you get the damage from the Spectre Haunt, people are still going to be dropping. Bottom line is, if you're looking for a lineup that risks nothing in securing kills, Spectre and Ancient Apparition are great heroes to have no matter what you're up against. So it'll be more difficult for Doom as he tanks up. Obviously, the Shatter is percent-based, and he is also relying on both Mechanism and Scorched Earth. I'm not sure why we keep seeing Dooms pick up Mech game after game when it costs so much of their mana pool. He can barely cast Mech as well as Doom, but all the same, it's going to be better as the game goes on and he gets a little bit more int gain.
Yeah, I guess he could find the mana regen creep. I'm not sure. Like this build to me, you normally would see with drums or with the Crystal Maiden. Outside of that, you really do struggle. For those who speak Chinese, you shouldn't be watching us cast, by the way. You should definitely go watch the iLeague stream because Burning is casting there. For those who don't know. Special guest for today's broadcast for them. He's done a little bit of casting as well with ROTK. But yeah, with that said, if you don't speak Chinese, well, tough luck. Fernie doesn't speak the best English. OB will push in the top lane. Xiaowei and Didi will work together here. And you've got 820 about to join them as well. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Ryo and Ninja Boogie smoked up and heading that direction. Looking for a pickoff, but not going to find anyone, it looks like.
Yep, nice passive play from Joe here, just kind of finding the easy farm and ready to haunt in if something breaks out on the top lane, but knowing that if they're not top, they're certainly somewhere else, and he probably shouldn't be going too far out, though. Saying that, he is going right down to the mid lane. They're going to see him very shortly, and they look to converge.
Do they? Do they, though?
They have the blink, the force. They definitely have the potential to jump in, but obviously we do see the rest of OB waiting in the wings, so it definitely wouldn't have been the right decision, but it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction where you see the hard carry, you're a high kill target, and you're like, well, this is just too easy, so you fall right into it.
And honestly, Blaze, the Terrorblade pick, I was expecting a little more pressure on towers, and I'm feeling like at this stage of the game, your Spectre is by no means scary, but he's one fight away from being scary. And that's my concern right now. I don't feel like they've taken enough objectives or map control to really feel confident. The gold lead is fairly minimal, 3,000 gold, 3,000 experience, and that is with a 2-tower advantage. The tower deny making a big difference for that. Rave's work to me is not done. And I'm kind of with you overall with your analysis that if this goes late, the Spectre factor is just too strong. The global factor is too safe to find pickoffs, and Rave will have to significantly outplay OB to have a shot. Not now, but in like 20 to 30 minutes or so. So I'd like to see them at that point at least sieging high ground and hopefully having an Aegis on their Terrorblade.
So I think they are going to put a lot of emphasis on Roche. We saw it last game, obviously, even when they were on the Radiant side, so I don't even know if we can call it a dire advantage anymore. Once the tier 1 on bottom falls, it's kind of open grounds hunting for Roshan, but yeah, on the dire side right now with the tier 1 mid and bottom up, I still think that Rave have a really good control over the pit, and they should be able to take Roche fairly easily majority of the time. I mean, obviously there are things like the Ice Blast that keep them out in general, but if they can get a pick off, go for Roche, they can start building momentum very quickly towards the high ground. And right now, there isn't a perfect turtle setup. Like the Ice Blast plus Stream Coil is pretty much all they've got, and that can be managed with the right positioning. So we'll see. Rave definitely have to make something happen soon, though, because right now a Mechanism, Drums, Doom is not going to be out-carrying the side of the Radiant. They just have too much going for them right now.
And they kind of, it seems OB definitely understand the nature of their draft. Long DD, not building utility items. He's going to pick up a point booster now, and he'll be rushing the eggs. So as much as the Ancient Apparition isn't scary now, you give him a couple good fights, he's going to have tons of experience, he'll hit his level 11 quickly, he'll get his eggs very fast, and then what do you do if you're Rave? At that point, it becomes very difficult for Terrorblade to get aggressive with the split push, and I do worry for them then, but for now, they hold a slight lead. They're not keeping the Spectre from farming too much, though. Like, his net worth isn't great, but a lot of that is just the tower advantage and also the fact that he is 30 CS down, yeah, but is an off-lane Spectre who was left alone. Like, that's pretty damn good for Joe, I have to say.
Yeah, most definitely. But it looks like there is some on-site issues here with not only the pause, but this full mass DC, and yeah, it looks like we have a small weight on our hands.
Yeah, so with that weight, not a small weight, well, I guess it was 10 disconnect. We'll hope it's a small one anyway, Blaze. For those who are wondering what's going on in iLeague, we can kind of give you the rundown here while we have a quick break. It is a single elimination format. It's a total of 7 best of 3s. Or maybe the grand finals will be a 5. But 6 best of 3s to get there. And, well, we're in the first match of the day right now. We've got Tongfu.OB versus Rave. Winner of this moves on and is in the grand finals. Invictus Gaming versus Vici Gaming will be your second game. And that should, given the delays here, it should be pretty much the players will go set up immediately after the series ends, it looks like. So hopefully there won't be too much downtime there.
So right now, state of the game is obviously
Oh,
Rave.
there's been a new patch, Blaze. We have
Really?
Chair Raider, one of the beta testers in the chat now. The kill streak bounty has gone. Oh, actually, can I just show this on the? Let me see. Let's see. Just put the notes up so everyone can take a quick look. So this is the new change. Kill streak bounty from 100 to 800 to 60 to 480. That's a big drop off. Then the 6.81 values were 125 to 1,000. Oh, whoops, I can't tab. And the AoE gold bonus net worth factor has been, it looks like halved for the first hero kill, a little bit less than half for the second. If you do get that huge team victory, it's still a pretty big bump. But I think that's fine. Like
this looks good.
This is, I think the concept was fine, but it was the numbers that did seem a bit extreme, and well, like we saw in the last game. So literally getting hot fixed at 2:30 a.m. here on the West Coast. I'm even starting to wonder if Ice Frog was maybe watching that match. I was like, okay, maybe some tweaks are required. But the game has resumed now. We'll hop back into it. So I think that will only apply for the next game.
Yes.
I think. Well, that says it was at 2:40 a.m., but I don't remember downloading an update. So
no, the one that was posted was like at 15 minutes ago that I see. So I definitely don't think it applied to this game. We didn't have to re-download, but I don't honestly know how if it's like a server-side thing or if it has to be client-based for those tweaks. In either case, it's a great change because everybody could say that it was just nonsensical how much the values were inflated.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, at the same time, I guess the only way it's kind of has been his approach to balancing heroes, right? Where, you know, you release a new hero and the hero's almost always OP. That way, people actually play it, and you also just get a better idea of how much stronger it is than what it should be. If it's too weak, you don't get too much data on it, and I guess we've seen what happens with the extreme bounty differences, and now we'll see. Still, there's a more significant swing if a team loses a fight significantly and they're far ahead, but if you lose that one hero especially, it's not the biggest deal. So, you know, if you have one carry player in a pub who's overextending. Well, we'll see now. We'll see how this changes things, but that will be for Game 3 if there is one, I believe. Not for Game 2. Back to the game. 8-5 your score right now. And currently, Rave leading by about 3,000 gold, about 3,000 experience. Looking... I still think pressure's on them to force the issue a bit here. Centaur Stampede goes in, and they will find Joe top lane, and hey, that's forcing the issue, man, if they kill him off. He tries to run out of the Kinetic Field Static Storm, hoping to get a Ninja Boogie kill before he goes down. They'll glimpse back Xiao 8, but they have no more Stomp to set this up as HF Ult comes flying in towards the top lane. Ninja Boogie, though, he's pretty healthy. The Ice Blast will be there, though, in Rio. And now Xiao 8, he orbs over the Stomp, but he actually ends up on the other end of that same Stomp. And he will go down for this to Ninja Boogie's nuke. It looks like Ern's there as well, and this will actually be a kill for Jo. Oh, that's not the hero you want to be feeding the solo mid puck as he turned out to be. That's their most farmed hero as well. And he'll end up getting quite a bit of gold for that.
Nice value there. The Manta style will come out for him quite readily, and yeah, it's going to be a nice movement there. Of course, they got the Spectre on top in the very beginning of that. Now DD on bottom, gets hit by the Doom, Ice Blast, or Chain Frost to follow, and they're just going to be able to nuke, right-click him down. I mean, there's nowhere to run for him, nobody to get to deny, so it's going to be a slow kill, but...
It's close, though. Oh, one more Devour.
Yeah. It's so weird to see the dodges, him evading right-clicks when he's doomed, but obviously it's the fact that there is no Aghanims and the nerf in 6.82.
And on that note, Long DD throws out his ultimate mid lane. That will hit Jo. Just a zoning ult, I suppose. No, not much follow-up there, but at the same time, Rave not really going to be able to do anything to punish the fact that the A ult is down. And the one thing I am a little worried about for Rave Blaze is they're not really the best Roche lineup. Illusion-based heroes in general are pretty bad at taking Roche. You can use them to tank it, but, you know, obviously illusions can attack it, and because of that, they can't really take advantage of what's been a pretty significant map control lead as well as they would like. I'm not sure how they solve that problem, though. Yeah, I guess just push the lanes into the point where, like, Tongfu.OB physically can't get there.
Yeah, I definitely think they need to pick off before they actually break it open. Otherwise, you're just going to be smoked in, and there's going to be a lot of AoE coming through the pit. I mean, Ice Blast and Haunt alone is enough to force them away from the pit, so they probably need to take out one of those two heroes. But for right now, it looks like OB are going to be forcing the issue, scouting the pit with Ice Blast, and forcing the issue on the mid-tier 1.
And they will, as you said, really press it. They're committed to this at this point, but the glyph has come out, and the defense might be coming from Rave. They're getting into position. They don't have their Terrorblade here, and unlike Spectre, he can't instantly join the fights. So they decide without Jo, it's just not worth the risk. Already a completed Manta style. He is very farmed, and he split pushes damn fast. But still, the tier 2s haven't really been pressured that much.
Yeah, I mean, this is just going to be a whole position type situation. Obviously, the tier 1s refreshing Fortify make it a lot easier to defend the tier 2s subsequently, so it's definitely difficult for a Rave to snowball momentum. They're going to be kind of having to find an opening. Interesting build-up from... Is Lich going for the Crimson Guard? Interesting. You wouldn't have thought of that on a range support, but anyways.
Stampede, Force Staff in, long range initiation to catch out Jo, who now tanks the Static Storm. He gets swapped out of this. Do they get the glimpse? Oh yeah, they've got the vision for that. Where are you going, Jo? You're going nowhere, but this will give time for the turn to come. They'll lose their Disruptor, they'll sacrifice the Centaur as well. And that ends a killing spree for the Disruptor. Didn't even realize he'd gotten that many kills, but I suppose if you're going to lose your Spectre, that's the way to do it. Although he just about had Relic Gold. This will slow him down. Well, it didn't even slow him down, actually. I'm not sure if he lost gold from that or not. I think he got a few assists. Just from the dispersion damage, you should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you usually get that value as long as you aren't the first one to drop down. But either way, I mean, the Disruptor going down, they are the ones with the net worth momentum, so they're the ones that actually profit from it. OB are able to pull forward with the Aghanim Scepter on the puck, and a hefty sum on the Spectre, honestly. 3,600 is pretty huge, so yeah, I think that he does get a nice little chunk of that, and now that we can see that combo in action, not only is it just the long duration Dream Coil that has some good damage and some potential stun, but you swap that, you force them out of it intentionally, and that's a guaranteed 4.5 second disable that pierces through Magic Immunity. It's pretty huge.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite Aghanim's upgrades from this patch, actually. And I hope we see more Puck in general. It's just such an awesome hero to watch. Very high skill cap, a lot of potential to win games through outplay rather than just matchups or, you know, team composition. And it kind of harkens back to the older style of Dota when we used to see players like Mushi, Dendi, 430 just single-handedly, or if not single-handedly, then close to it, winning their teams the game by just dominating a matchup 1v1. Or if not dominate 1v1, then making those big plays later on. So, Smoke Gank will come now from Rave. Ryo and Ninja Boogie on the prowl. Chrissy will be joining them. Do they find any openings here, though? Jo is very far back, but would be the great hero to bring down again. Oh, this is perfect anticipation by Rave. They're going to walk right into him now. Jo, just he poked his head out, and Ryo's like, yeah, let's go this way, man. Let's go for the Spectre. Jo has to be a little bit suspicious of this, though. Yeah, he's also showing good positioning, and they weren't there at, like, exactly the right moment. You mentioned that Path Blaze. It pays out now. They come in from the sidelines, getting very close, and now it's not really a backstab, but it's still a good way to jump in on DD. Gets the Doom off on him. The Centaur kills off 2 heroes, and they chase for the Brewmaster here as well. He's trapped in the trees. He can't really make his way out quickly. Even with the Aghanim's Coil Snap, it's not going to be enough. As simultaneously mid lane, Jo knows he can get aggressive. He'll spam out illusions on the long DD. He doesn't have his ultimate for 13, but he will take a tier 2. And this is kind of your classic way to play a Terrorblade. Don't even come to the fight. Just let your team win the fights 4v5 or 4v4. Almost like a Spectre, but you don't join the fight in the middle. You just push in the middle.
Yeah,
and he'll take a tower on the back of that.
That's nice, but I kind of feel they should go for Roshan right now. Like, the 2-2 is one thing, but getting Rosh and securing the Aegis is absolutely immense in the risk involved in losing heroes right now. Ancient Apparition is actually going to get killed off.
How did that happen?
He
doesn't have an urn. Is this a combat log? I'll bring it up.
I can do it. I'll look it up on the combat log real quick, because I honestly don't know.
Let's see. Well, it must have been the image running him down, I guess. How did he get all the way here without him living? Oh my god. I would have figured the towers would have killed him off at that point. Huh. I can't go back because I'm not in Dota TV, unfortunately.
Look it up.
Okay, sorry I missed that one, guys. I was not expecting Terrorblade to get a kill there. That's my bad, though. No excuses. Let's loser talk LD. But Jo will get his Radiance during this time, so he'll pick that up at the well. And Ancient Apparition nearly has Ags, I believe. Yeah, he's hiding the components at the base. And I'm thinking maybe Long DD doesn't want Rave to realize that he's just about got it when the next team fight happens. So perhaps he springs a fast one on them with the level 2 Ice Blast and Ags and just wins them like a game-changing team fight. Any luck?
There's no mystery. It's just an illusion was somehow that deep and was able to get right clicks on him. There was no help for him. I don't know. I mean, obviously the illusions are very quick with the movement speed of the Terrorblades, so a lot of the items that he has do enhance their movement. And yeah, he was run down by illusions. It's not much more than that.
It's one thing if it's like Radiant Spurn or Naga Riptide illusions, like late game, but yeah. Well, like you said, they're fast. And they are starting to become tanky. He picks up an Ogre Club now for Jo. Probably will be the BKB, and that's feeling like it's the timing window they want to strive for here. With a BKB, it'll be very difficult to lock down, and OB might have to use buybacks or just flat out outlast him and dodge the fight. Maybe even sacrifice a tier 3 and then go in. But we'll see if they get that kind of an arrangement for the fight.
Yeah. We're going to see the Lich pick up the Crimson Guard. I would have personally flip-flopped who has the mech and who has the Crimson Guard, but in either case, they have both, and there's a lot of potential to survive throughout the fights. Going to see Xiao Wei engaged on a little bit, but DD answers back.
Blink in from DD, but he's been doomed. He's been Static Storm. The swap comes out, but oh, the damage already. The Brewmaster actually managing to get off his split because of that swap. The Doom was about to come out, but, well, didn't connect to the end. Great defensive play. Cass now getting punished for that, and Ryo on the back foot. They'll end up losing 2 heroes, but Jo is breaking the base while this is going on. Ninja Boogie going to go down here, but Terrorblade's in the base. He's got a double damage rune online. He's now popped his Metamorphosis and the Manta Style, the full might of Terrorblade unleashed. But Glyph will say no to that.
That's still, like, this is no longer what you can do in this, at least this patch in particular. We'll see, you know, in an hour whether or not it's still viable. But right now, getting so many kills against Rave swings the fight. It was like 3,500 gold in favor of OB. Like, yeah, you get some nice push in, but unless you're taking racks, that's not the right decision to make. Unfortunately, it's one of the few decisions that Terrorblade has because, like he said, he doesn't have a haunt. He can't jump into the fight like Spectre. He just has to dedicate to a lane and push. But as a result, because they had such a gold advantage and they lost so many heroes there, we just see this huge pull ahead from OB. They just get this gigantic gold swing. Spectre's going to get huge now. I mean, 2,000 gold on top of Radiance. And I'm assuming a Manta Style will be her next big pickup. Heart, also a pretty good option. Yeah,
and I guess that play does work if Glyph's down. I think if Glyph's down, that play could potentially work if you can like take a Rax off of it. Jo's going to go back for a Sacred Relic. And is he deciding that we just have to rat this purely? We can no longer take head-on fights? I guess that's the thinking. I imagine Radiance will be the choice. As DD gets caught up mid lane by a Stampede into a Stomp, we'll just sacrifice him. Xiao just watching helplessly from beyond. He's going back for a Radiance at 30, I mean, unless it's an Abyssal Blade or a Rapier, but...
definitely not
Terrorblade is an illusion-based hero, so Rapier not really the standard choice.
In general, just an attack damage increasing item isn't going to be the most popular on him. I think Radiance is the only logical choice here. I mean, Abyssal is amazing, just for a late-game lockdown, but Jo...
Caught out by the Static Storm, the Stomp from Ryo. He'll give away his life. Now the Haunt buyback. Oh no, they gotta run the hell away. For right now, there's a BKB on Centaur, so he's absolutely fine. But not so lucky will be the rest of the squad. The Dream Coil snaps. Ryo trapped in position. 3 heroes falling. Jo on the run. He'll just watch his team crumble around him. While Chrissy is also able to escape. But this may turn into a push mid or a Roche perhaps.
That friggin' Aghanim's Dream Coil. They're sitting in it and they're just shaking. They're like, I can't run, but... I have to. There's no decision to make. It's just death either way.
It's so funny, because Puck's Ags used to be one of the worst upgrades in the game. And it may just have become, maybe not the best, but definitely towards the top of the list with this recent change.
Another 3,200 gold swing. Xiao Wei just getting huge money out of that. The Spectre bought back and still has 2,300 gold. Like, this is the value that you get out of it. And now Long DD with the Aghanim Scepter has a huge amount of contribution, even from the base. We'll see if an illusion finds him once again. That would be very frustrating for him. But no, it's just going to be the easy push. No Roshans have been secured. And yeah, like you said, Terrorblade going back for the Radiance at this stage in the game, it just feels like it's a losing pickup. Like, they already are not necessarily behind because they had such an advantage in the first place, but... one more team wipe and the game's essentially even.
And it just feels like finding those good fights are so much easier for OB. It's like just distracting to figure out who to go on when Spectre haunts. Your Blink Dagger initiation gets disabled. The Puck with the Dream Coil Aghanim's upgrade is just so difficult to fight against. You get held in place. you try to separate a bit, but you can't quite get out. And then if you do separate, Spectre's running you down with Desolate damage. The way that the Tongfu just have so many options on how they approach these fights, and I feel the options are very limited for Rave. Like, to win a fight, they probably have to just flat out catch a big team fight hero, which is actually anyone except for the Venge. All these heroes are pretty important to the team fight of OB, and they all offer a lot. And it has to be like a clean catch, too. They can't be caught by a return coil or something if they go for that.
Exactly. Like, although you would just like to say, okay, all you do is doom the Brewmaster and you're good to go, honestly, it's not. Even if you get an ideal doom target, you still have to deal with so many other threats this game. The combo potential between just the three non-core heroes. I mean, obviously Puck is technically core, and he's even topping out net worth, but even if he was just running Blink Ags and he wasn't majority of the way to a Scythe of Ice, it still is a hero that just with 2 items can do so much work. Venge, Puck, Ancient Apparition, they alone bring a lot to the team fight that you can't just say, oh, we started the fight by killing a Spectre and doomed the Brewmaster. You still have a lot of potential to trade evenly in that circumstance because of how potent these team fight ultis are, and they're only going to get worse. So the Disruptor makes the right call. Ninja Boogie is going to be making its way towards an Aghanim Scepter of his own, and this is where just winning the fights 100% comes down to. It's saying, okay, I have the ability to make it so they can't use any items or cast any spells at all. Let's go. And I think that's probably really the only way that they can take this to the late game.
And on that note, we'll see if they if they can somehow find those kinds of picks, but we'll have to wait a while for it. 4 players now disconnected. As you can see, everyone is at the venue. They're at their seats, but they're just kind of waiting around and hoping the admins can figure things out. It's been unfortunate for iLeague. It's not been the smoothest event in terms of technical issues. Probably some of them out of their control. Seems like a combination of internet, PC issues, perfect world issues, an imperfect storm, if you will.
Yeah. And also, I think this tournament has been the most affected by the 6.82 shift. Like, there was a lot of discussion on Twitter about this, but essentially the fact that the patch occurs during the major LAN event from day to day, switching up the metagame entirely, and just making it very unstable as far as what you can expect out of the matches. It's difficult, and it makes you kind of wish that they would go back to the older implementation of the tournament mode versus the latest release, and maybe they could make that decision at least for like 7 or 8 days. But, in this case, the teams just kind of had to make up on the fly. And now that we finally have what I would consider a really stable patch with the recent goal reduction, obviously at least the latter games, the finals and stuff, will still be really epic.
Yeah, we're going in the wrong direction now. We've got 6 players disconnected now. Hopefully it's all smooth for the last days, and I still think a lot of the changes in this patch are fantastic. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about the bounty rune, but I actually enjoy it. In a lot of ways, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, and I don't think like what it gives you is that important. It's just the fact that people want to go for it more than anything. That it just makes the laning stage a little bit more exciting. And also, I don't mind the glyph refreshing either. I think it kind of extends the ganking phase or laning phase a bit. It seems like we see less of that just 5-on-5 at 10-minute every game kind of action.
Yeah.
It's refreshing because you still get your team fights later on, right? So it's like, Dota's, I've always looked at it like you want to have your laning phase, your ganking phase, and your team fight phase to some extent. And it's nice to see that we're getting a little bit longer of a ganking phase because it was very compressed in the previous version.
Definitely agree. And I mean, makes so much more relevant the early movements of the heroes in general, like the gank supports and stuff like that, roaming about. With the gold as it was, like all you wanted was just late game presence supports, like the Ancient Apparition, for example. But we'll be seeing, a couple of the roamers and early just shutdown ganking heroes come back into play with the continuing improving patch. And I think there's a lot of potential for just making the laning phase the most exciting it's ever been. So yeah, we'll see. For now, obviously, we still have to just kind of kill time for this disconnect setup here, but yeah, I think that it's definitely moving the right direction now. There were some hiccups, but overall, I would say all the changes throughout the patch have some value added and minimal taken away. So we're seeing it evolve, we're seeing it improve, and although maybe there was an over nerf on 1 or 2 heroes, as far as a meta sense plus the actual direct nerfs, the end of the line, everybody's still viable. Everybody still has their place in the game, and I definitely think that Dota's got its best years ahead.
It certainly does feel that way, and lots of great tournaments coming up over the next few months. One of which will hopefully be ours. Really, more information soon, guys. Hopefully this weekend. Yeah, I'm only teasing because I'm bored. I normally wouldn't do that, but I want to see Dota, man. Oh, it's frustrating for these players, I'm sure. It's more than anything. It's just they're losing their rhythm and kind of feel for the game. I do want to mention that I think Jayo's really stepped up for Rave. He's been individually very impressive for this team, and he did it with his Naga yesterday. He's doing it again today, and he just doesn't make many mistakes as a carry player. He made a lot of mistakes when he first came to Korea, but I feel like as an individual player, he has improved immensely. And
Oh yeah.
this is great experience for Rave. They have not done particularly well in KDL. The only team that has is MVP Phoenix, who I think are still undefeated or close to it. But yeah, Jo and Rave they're looking pretty good here. And I expect we may see them making their way into some of these events in the future. Maybe not the big international LANs if more of the top Western teams are competing for those slots, but perhaps, something like a Southeast Asia qualifier next season for Star Ladder, something along those lines might be in the cards for them.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think that, especially comparing how he's progressed since being on Team Fire and Complexity, that it's a black and white situation where he has improved so much. He's really able to shoulder the burden of a difficult game, and I mean, looks like we're barely able to get off our feet here. But yeah, I think that he's bringing a lot more to the table than ever before, and yeah, we'll have to see if that's sufficient. Here in particular, obviously they're already down one game, so it's a really tough situation to be in. But all the same, Terrorblade is an immensely powerful carry in his own right. But it's just these fights are so damn hard.
The other thing for Rave is if they can't even get those pickoffs, maybe they can somehow bait out the big ultimates. I guess to me, Haunt's probably the biggest one. You do have your Brewmaster split, but when it gets to 100 seconds and it lasts for, I think it's 17, something like that. It's just very difficult. Like, you're only looking at 80 seconds of downtime at that point. And that Brew will jump in right now. Gets up the split on Chrissy, who does not have his BKB yet, unfortunately. His Blink Dagger not able to be used, and now he gets 4-step pushed out of the Egg Scepter. Oh my god. That stun is so ridiculously strong. Nothing he can do. And they'll end up just losing him for nothing yet. But they're going to lose the tower as well. Jail will try to split push the top lane. And this may force OB back immediately. Haunt was used. Brew split was used. They don't have Coil either. They don't have much lockdown for Jail, but I don't think he's strong enough to do this all by himself.
Yeah.
Ryo, looking for a TP cancel? Too late.
Yeah, it almost feels like this is an AoE Batrider lasso. You just can't disengage away from it cleanly. Like, the 4-staff away, no, not going to save you in that situation. You're still locked down so damn hard.
Was that his teams, or was it 820s? Because I think it was his teams.
Yeah, I think they were just trying to bail him out, but, I mean, once you get caught, then there's really nothing you can do. The 4-staff could be used in that fashion, but I don't think they needed to in that situation. They already had him pretty well pinned down, so...
We haven't even seen the full power blaze. I'm still waiting to see a skewer. Magnus has been buffed with Empower, now persisting through Magic Community, and maybe we see a skewer out of it, a vacuum out of it.
Gosh.
The entire team basically roared.
Yeah. No, my combo actually was a purely anti-Magic Immunity one, which is a Beastmaster Roar plus Puck. You pick a central target to roar, and the knockback effect pops 3 or 4 coils. If you obviously got a 4 or 5 man.
It does sound pretty dirty.
It's 100% through Magic Immunity. That's the cool aspect of it, I think. But yeah, BKB carriers eat your heart out.
For now, well, they will try and use this Radiance Terrorblade Illusions, but they just don't last very long. H-Emperor still coming in. There is no Haunt online for 20 seconds, though. They'll kind of just defensively pop the shield from the Cryptic Guard. It's not really the most effective as against all this nuke damage. They'll Doom Shao 8 as well, but he did manage to use his ultimate at the very least. Yeah, not really going to matter too much, though. Zhou now on the chase out. 2-for-2 exchange, but they may lose Zhou, and this will be a big kill. Killing off a Spectre, who's starting to trend the other direction. But they just can't use their Blink Daggers. And now he'll Haunt. As the Blink Stomp comes in, Zhou is looking for another way into this fight. He goes onto Chris, he kills him off, and then searches for the Terrorblade, who gets thrown up in the air, dropped back down to Earth momentarily. Another Boulder toss to greet Jo. Already used his ultimate in the Roche fight. They end up dropping 4. The Aegis also was used up. Or no, Roche actually not dead yet, but will be dead soon. So Zhou's going to get an Aegis, and they get 4 heroes. Oh, man. This is not good.
Not good at all for the side of Rave. They really are just trying to stick it out as long as they can, but they can't even get that acronyms on the disruptor. It's very similar to the situation with the Witch Doctor before last game. He got some great ultis off, but a BKB guaranteeing his full duration ulti would have been huge. Now, this disruptor, if he could just get that Axe, there's so much he could possibly prevent, but it's just not coming. Instead, it's just utter domination as the initiation is entirely in OB's court. I mean, they've got the Hex Blink on Puck, they've got the Dream Coil follow-up, which is just disgusting as far as how much potential it really does have, and then obviously the Ice Blast was hitting on massive amounts of heroes. So in the end, Rave, if they're not in perfect positioning, it's so difficult to take a fight against ultimates.
Is this Crimson Guard really the right choice this game, by the way? I'm really starting to feel like this should have been a pipe for cast.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I like the Crimson Guard in general against Brewmaster because it has a lot of block potential against those low right-click damage spirits, but I definitely think that the pipe would have been a lot more valuable in this game.
There's also Spectre. It's really not good against Spectre, even though he's an illusion-based hero, because he's Desolate, pure damage, and he also has Radiance Burn. So it's only really good against the Brew, as I'm seeing it. And I guess just general right-clicks, but this is mostly a magic damage team to me for OB.
Yeah. No, I think it was just kind of a trial thing. He definitely wanted more HP, but he didn't want to go route of Atos, so he said, okay, well, I'll try and see what I can accomplish with this. And I don't think it's the ideal pickup, but it's an experimental one. And in this case, not providing their team with too much value, unfortunately. But yeah, we're still seeing some nice map spreading from Jo here. He does have that Radiance up, so he's going to be farming down the lanes while the push ensues down bottom. But the question is, can they hold against 5 ultimates in any capacity? Is there any fight they take in which they can actually prevent OB from just overrunning them as 5? And we'll test that theory very quickly, as they don't really have
swap in to start this. Insta-Hex onto the Centaur. They had it comboed up perfectly with Xiao 8. Now they throw out their Ancient Apparition, and they chase them back to the base. Cass getting run down. Everybody forced to retreat out. Chrissy also dropping Willow. Will he shatter? One more boulder toss? Oh, yes, he will. Still plenty of time left on that Aghanim Scepter ultimate. Now the Brew looks to make his way out. Though Glimpse trying to pull 820 out of position, but he's fine for now. Static Storm dropping him fairly low. Centaur will finish him off, but the turn may come now. They still have that Aghanim's Coil. It's broken almost instantly as he 4-steps out. I'm not sure that that's the right play, man. He's stunned for ages. Rio barely surviving. Maybe it was the right play. He did the math, and he just, by the skin of his teeth. Ancient Apparition ult might end it, though. And Jo is coming back in with the Aegis. He wants some additional kills here. Rio chased out as well. They will lose the Aegis for this, though. Does he go in further? No, now he wants to run. Jo knows that he's starting to acquire quite a bit of gold, and this game is starting to turn, and now they have to be more careful about giving up any. For now, it's just a slight Radiant lead. Momentum pretty much in their court, but a bit of an overextension at the end of that fight, Blaze.
Yeah, I thought that there might actually be like a further projected Ice Blast where he would actually try to track down Retreat instead of the Jo that stood his ground. If he got the debuff on Jo and still connected on the Centaur, I think he gets both there, but yeah, in the end, he just gets the big kill here onto the Terrorblade, and that gold graph just swung 100% back in favor of OB at this point in time. So yeah, they just feel confident whenever they have their ultis. The only potential wrench in the works is Ninja Boogie's Aghanim Scepter at this point. The Disruptor ultimate dropping on multiple heroes, preventing, essentially creating an AoE Doom, and then dooming whoever's on the outside. That's pretty much the only way that they actually are able to take fights, in my opinion.
So I was going to get aggressive here on Ryo. He's trying to bait out a Stomp. If he can bait that out, he may even chase him and trying to kill him, but instead he earns himself up. He will end up retreating out, and now 820 will join him. By the way, I really, it's criminal that I haven't already mentioned it, but this guy was a real a real pioneer for Vengeful Spirit back in the day. And I'm actually not sure if she has a flavor name 820 in Dota 1, but if not, she definitely should. Along the lines of Burning Anti-Mage. It used to be that Vengeful Spirit's stun had the same duration at all levels, but the damage scaled. So what 820 realized, and what he kind of came up with, or was the first player to really use it effectively, not sure if he invented it himself, but either way, basically pioneered it, was just only leaving the stun at level 1, and then just maxing the Wave of Terror and the damage art. And at the time, like, people just didn't do that. This was in the early days of competitive Dota, where, yeah, there wasn't that much experimentation with builds. It's like, oh, it's a nuke. It's got to be my best spell to max early, but it actually ended up winning a lot of games, just that overall pushing meta, and, you know, for Protect 1 back in the day. But for now, Rave will smoke up and look to jump in. Going for the blink initiation. They look to jump on Joe here. They'll get the stomp on him to start, but he gets swapped to safety. Chain Frost will follow him. They'll manage to doom the Brew and bring him down. It was a decent Dream Coil to kind of turn this fight, though, and they'll look for the 820 kill. He manages to force Staff away. He's going to survive for the time being. Joe dropped low, barely finished off in the nick of time, and that is a decent streak that they've ended. They got I think it said 520 gold for that kill. Yeah, oh, 580, dominating streak. And a big swing the other direction, Blaze. They lost nothing for that.
Yeah, really high value. I don't think the Doom was necessary to bring down the Brewmaster. He's already in the Static Storm for a couple more seconds, honestly. But even still, they just want to make sure that damn split doesn't come out. And they want.
Oh no, he's got the Hex off first. There's no Doom. He needs to orb out of this one. Rave are still going to pursue him a bit, though. They've got the Blink Dagger cooling down. Force Staff also online. If they could just get a stop, but it's dodged. Shao-Wei with the phase shift and the further retreat out. Manda Bliving, Glimpse, actually used on the Ancient Apparition, sending him back instead of pulling Shao-Wei in.
You maybe think that he just like saw a blue hero up on the high ground and is like, oh, click that guy?
Blue, let me glimpse. But Rave have worked their way into a position where they could potentially force the issue. There's an army of Terrorblade illusions descending on this top lane. And as I mentioned, buildings will begin to melt. Oh. They jump in. They get the kill on the Ancient Apparition, searching for the Shao-Wei kill as well. Now the Spectre buyback is forced out. This is a big one, Rave. If they can retreat, live through this, maybe even turn the fight, it could be amazing for them. But they'll lose Ninja Boogie. That ends a dominating streak for him, and they chase for more. DD also on the hunt with his Primal Split ready to go. And now the Lich of Cast will use those new tree lines to his advantage. Clap will come, but it's a bit too late. And they won't get that additional kill. So they force out the Spectre buyback. They get out safely. And this is a situation, Blaze, where one more good fight over the next 5 minutes could just flat out win them the game. That would be no Spectre for like 100+ seconds. And while that was happening, last point, Terrorblade did manage to take the Ranger X.
Yeah, so pretty high value pick off there. I mean, it's not as great as Melee, but it's still a step in the right direction. They need to get some real momentum of pushing forward in against the enemy base, and they also get this nice ward up too. This Observer ward is probably going to stay in the base for quite some time. There is no gem up for the side of OB, so this vision is extremely valuable as far as where the Spectre's farming, where the team's moving in general, or if they're absent from the base. The question arises of where are they on the map, and are they being smoked on at that point in time. So that much intel is going to be extremely valuable, and in addition, they get this Observer ward up in the Radiant jungle as well. So by kind of doubling up at seeing where they're farming, it's going to enable Rave to really predict the enemy's movements and feel much more confident with Jo in this kind of aggressive position.
They have to find that next fight, though. That is the one thing. It looks good now, but if they don't find that fight while Spectre's buyback is on cooldown and they overextend, it can, as we've seen time and again, it can not just tilt the other way, it will like completely 180 on its face the other direction. And, well, this game is on its face right now. Another disconnect. Oh, frustrating for us, frustrating for the players, frustrating for you guys, and nothing in hell we can do about it.
Unfortunately. It's actually kind of funny down on the bottom lane there. Ancient Apparition is under a similar situation with those damn Terrorblade illusions, and he actually uses the Ghost Scepter to avoid those auto attacks. Or he
still
would be
taking the
dead
Radiance Burn, though.
Yeah, so he'll drop pretty low. I think he still lives, but if he didn't have that Ghost Scepter, he would have died once again to the illusions only.
Do you think that's the idea with the Radiance, is just to like go find Ancient Apparition and kind of play Naga Siren Dota against him?
I think, I mean, enhancing his farm and kind of pushing in the map constantly with illusions, just making it so that one illusion can actually clear out creep waves as they get stronger. Maybe more so than just getting that, but obviously he wants the damage on the heroes. Not gonna bring Ancient Apparition from 100 to 0 or anything, but it definitely contributes. I don't think that's specifically what he's going for, but it's a nice little perk.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. A nice perk. Well, at this stage of the game, do they find that next team fight? That is the question for Rave right now. For now, they work towards some bigger items. They'll pick up the Ultimate Orb on Jail. Almost certainly going to be an Eye of Scotty for him, I would say. Be very surprised to see a Linked Sphere. And I'm wondering if Rave are going to bother to go back for a Pipe. I still feel like it would be a good item, but I guess if anyone's going to build, it'll be Cast, and he's a pretty long way off from that. Meanwhile, an Assault Cuirass on the Centaur. This will aid their push. And he is damn beefy, Blaze. 3,700 HP. I guess the one issue is just that Ancient Apparition. That will quickly negate a lot of his tankiness.
Yeah, I think Rio would probably be the best one to build the pipe, but now he's essentially 6-slotted. Trade out Tranquils for BOTs, and there's nowhere to progress other than dropping your BKB. We talked about this before, but BKB 5 seconds is just not nearly as valuable. It's still pretty important, but there are enough things that go through it that you might not actually want to hang on to it. In either case, I think Pipe would do him more than the BKB at this stage, and we'll have to see if he looks to progress in that capacity. But now it's going to be smoke movement coming out from the side of OB. They do have a dire observer ward over towards the western side near the Roche pit, but right now I don't believe they know the exact positioning of Tongfu.
Yeah, they were smoked earlier, so they got up that hill safely. They'll move down. No, they'll move to the right. They know Roche is respawning real soon. It's not quite a max duration respawn timer, but 1 minute short. And they don't want to give this one up without a fight.
Yep, so it did just spawn up, and now the Tarrasque is out on Joe. This is huge. Getting the heart up on the Spectre is going to allow him to survive through the fights. It's going to make it so the illusions just don't have enough in them. And
they've waited. They were patient. They find Cast here, and they'll lose the Lich. That was a really long gank coming, though.
Yeah, very patient.
To see if buyback. No buyback. That means no Chain Frost for a Roche pit fight. That's a pretty big deal.
That is a free Roche right there. Looks like still some DC issues. It's going to be Xiao 8's turn this time around. But yeah, in this position, with 50 seconds without the Lich, they can definitely take Roche. And if there is any risk of him buying back, obviously we see that he doesn't, but even if they were concerned about buyback, they know how long it would take for the Lich to get to the pit based on his current position. If you just think about where the pit moved, and the fact that obviously there are no tier 1s or tier 2s up in mid or bottom, there is no way that the Rave will be able to surprise them with a Lich buyback and move in. Like they would have been able to threaten with it by actually using the buyback, but right now, if they go in the pit, OB are very confident that they're going to be able to take the fight because they know the Lich is just not in the picture at all.
All right, not the longest pause that time. Let's hope that it stays that way. OB now trying to make their move back, but yeah, they just can't go for the Roche right now. If they do that, then your Terrorblade could be just barreling down the middle lane. So they're going to back off, play it a bit safer. They'll pick up a gem. It looked like a free Roche, but I think they're just too worried about the potential split push from Jo. They don't really have eyes on him right now. As it turns out, he's nowhere in the neighborhood of a push. So now it looks like they will consider going back in. But they've wasted a whole lot of time here. This gives time for the Lich to respawn.
No, they definitely had a timing window, but they did send back Jo to...
And they also didn't know he didn't have buyback. That's the other thing. But, I mean, at least trying to force it would have been nice.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of talking about, is the fact that they don't have any towers for Lich to TP into. Like, they can easily react to the buyback. If the buyback did come out from the Lich, they'd be like, okay, well, we can just fall back. We can leave the pit, and there's no chance that Chain Frost will connect in the fight, even with a Centaur Stampede speeding the Lich in. So, honestly, there wasn't really that much risk there, but... This is not a draft where you even want to take, or a patch really, where you want to take even the slightest bit of risk. So they go ahead, they just play the farming game, turtle it up, and this may leave Roche to Rave if they find the opening once again.
And Spectre is just such a great carry to have in these situations. Always being able to join the fights, but being able to counter push, and she's tanky enough that there's no danger whatsoever of just getting like picked off by one, a really farmed Terrorblade or something. So. For now, it's Rave who sit back in their base. They smoke, and they will make their way down the middle lane. Jo, for the time being, up in the front lines. He's completed the Eye of Scotty. He's got still his 9-second BKB. It's not been used much this game. It is a very healthy BKB duration. And now they look for Xiao 8. They get the Doom off on him. Static Storm dropped as well, and he's glimpsed back!
Whoa!
What was that glimpse? Oh, okay. Well, they get the kill anyway. DD get BKB now. He may be forced to Bruise Split. Once they start auto-attacking him, he'll go for the TP in the tree line. No way to cancel this. Yeah, he'll make this. Oh, Chain Frost, actually.
Yeah. But not going to burn it. And I don't think he was in range at that time. Good movement from the Brewmaster to just get out scot-free. And yeah, that Puck taking a lot of damage in the initial skirmish, but they do have to chase him down. In either case, now they're the ones to look for Roche. Another pause coming out, disconnection from Jo. Everybody's just kind of taking a turn, spinning the wheel, and getting a quick disconnect, but hopefully they'll be able to play through it. Yeah,
I don't think you can use the word quick anymore. That word has to be removed from your vocabulary for the rest of this game. There's been nothing quick about it. The overall game timer, the amount of fighting we've had, the pauses, the whole series has been pretty long. There's no speed here. Everything is done extremely slowly.
If you tell the viewers that they're just going to feel like it's the longest pause. We might as well just play tic-tac-toe.
The viewers are smart, Blaze. One thing I've learned is even though they're trolls, well, some of them are stupid. Most of them are pretty smart. And the silent majority quickly becomes the very outspoken majority when these pauses drag on. So I'm not gonna try to pull the sheep's wool over their eyes.
Okay, so we'll gradually get back into this game to see if Rave go for the Roche pit.
That's what I'm talking about. That's honesty. That's what we do.
Experiencing esports.
That actually was a pretty short pause. If it wasn't like the 20th one, I wouldn't have said anything. But yeah, it's not the player's fault, obviously, and hopefully the issues won't continue. Back into the pit they go. They'll try and work on this Roshan, and he immediately batches them. But that's okay. Jo is still hitting quite hard. And then they decide they're a little bit worried about this. The Haunt is online. HF Roshanult will be dodged away from. Now they can go back in. This is a pretty big deal, not having HF Roshanult for the Roche fight. I don't know if OB want to take the fight without it. They'll have it towards the end. 30 seconds to go, and they are thinking about a jump in with this smoke. But it's not going to be the easiest initiation. And they're a bit too late, perhaps. The Roche going down to the Dire. Terrorblade does manage to stag the Aegis. Now Zhou's in too far. He dies, and he won't have a buyback haunt, even if he comes back to life. Ancient Apparition ult still cooling down for 7 seconds. That may have just cost them a lane of racks. The chase will go on. They'll get a level death of a long DD. He's going to fall as well. And we'll get a fight recap, because I know you guys like look at this thing as long DD gets chased down.
Yeah.
That they do have buyback, though, at the very least. But they might lose more. Threw him onto Xiao 8 now. Can they glimpse him back? Oh no, Disruptor's dead now. Okay, he can't help them. Swap out on Long DD will keep him alive as they continue to chase him out with Chrissy, but the question now is Blaze.
Oh, he gets him. Blink and level death in the middle.
Man, my bad.
And he's going to be able to pick off the Ancient Apparition.
It looked like he was running away, too. He, like, angled away from the base.
Yeah, he was kind of playing him a little bit there, kind of giving him a false sense of security. But in the end, he gets the kill. He's out of mana, and the Spectre will buy back, so I'm not sure about this high ground, but that was just such a huge error going into the pit without the Ice Blast. They needed that Ice Blast 100% to make it happen, and the puck having respawned. No, it wasn't their time to fight. The Aegis honestly isn't that valuable. A Terrorblade, having it, Jo being able to come back a second time is great, but it's not worth what they committed to it.
They whiffed on the stomp. Xiao 8 now turning with this X. He has the Dream Coil online. Rave, do they continue to push into this base? They want to. Centaur, hoping he'll get that extra return damage on the tower, which he will. And they do have a lot more push now with him. Coil connected onto, they'll BKB and they break the coil again. I'm not sure if they've read the patch notes. This is not the first time they've done it, Blaze. And, well, the BKBs are wasted. Now Rave probably have to return. They just probably have to run away.
It's possible he was just using the BKB to prevent follow-up damage when he knew he would have to eat the stun. I mean, when you're in that situation, I mean, without a TP scroll, what do? Like, you have to either sit there for 4.5 seconds anyways, or get stunned for 4.5 seconds. There's no real choice in the matter. You're in that situation one way or another. So BKB charge, unfortunate, but he's out. They walk away. Still only 1 Rax in advantage, but you know they still have this Aegis for another 3.5, 4 minutes, and
it's only a range Rax, just to be clear here. So they did not manage to break through on the melee top lane yet.
Yeah, and that's good for obviously OB keeping control of that top lane. Whenever it gets pushed in by these piercing damage range creeps, then Joe's there to clean it up and get some nice extra gold in his pocket.
He is starting to really fall behind in farm, though, which is where they need to get a couple of big kills on core heroes at this point. This might be the biggest lead I've ever seen in a game of 6.82. And since those new changes haven't taken effect, I'm pretty sure one team wipe will completely sway this by 10k gold. I'm guessing, just guessing. But yeah, they'll swap in now. They get the Hex off. Good chain stun here. Focusing on Rio. Now he BKBs and the Chain Frost is thrown out the other direction. They doomed an illusion, trying to find the main hero of Zhou, but not successful. Oh, this could be very costly for Rave. And now they keep on chasing forward. Ninja Boogie will end up dropping here, and Jo looks to turn this one. With his BKB and his illusions, he is pretty damn strong, but the Force Staff from 820 will keep him Spectre alive. Now they try to retreat. They've only killed off the Disruptor thus far. Looking for a bit more. Long DD. Continuing to chase, but there's a nice Vortex and Radiance Burn to greet them. Now back the other way. Blinking for the Brew. It's his turn to enter the party. It's also Chrissy's turn to jump in. Trying to work on the Spectre, but he is not killing him off by himself. He'll need some support from Jo. Go for Jo. They want the Spectre now. Thinking about it. No, backing off. Going for the Brew instead. Well, meanwhile, Xiao 8 will blink out into the tree line and escape. Your Spectre gained about 2k gold from that fight, but Jo is still gigantic. Has 7k gold. Not that much of a win, I don't think, given that all their big ultimates are on cooldown right now, and Rave are going to try to push in and win the game.
Yeah, they expended so much that they only have the Ice Blast upon Ancient Emperor's respawn, but that's not going to be in time for the mid-racks. They have to fight here, fight now, and without ultimates. So we'll see if they can accomplish that. Oh, the blink out.
Stomp whiff by Ryo, and now Jo charging into the fray. He does have his BKB. He's going to save it for life number 2. And the question is if they can help him. They've got no Doom for this. They have no Blink Stomp. As that Blink constantly getting disabled, Jo will now pop BKB. He's looking for heroes, but really it's the buildings that Rave are going to want to claim. They've gotten neither. They still haven't managed to bring on Rex. Coil Whiff by Xiao8. But I don't know if they chase this anyway. Yeah, with that Coil Whiffing, they'll stop. Man, they still haven't managed to take a melee Rex.
No, I mean, they forced the Brew buyback, and that's all well and good, but he's not getting anything more than AC in a very long time, so it's not the end of the world. We already see that there is enough survivability on the supports with the Ghost Scepter on bench, with the Ghost Scepter on the Ancient Apparition. Really, the only thing that's causing Long DD so much grief right now is actually the level death. Because he's at level 18 and the multiplier is 3 with the maxed out death, he's just been absolutely destroyed every single time the Doom finds him out. So they bring down the Ancient Apparition pretty quick. They wait through the split, which does kind of taper at this stage in the game. And now JO just gets even bigger. The Butterfly comes out for him. Like, he is just absolutely massive.
Terrorblade in all his glory now. The only thing that you could maybe even see is if he wants to just be more effective in, like, getting hero kills, we could see a Daedalus come out to replace the Radiance. Or maybe an MKB just for the main hero to be able to focus the Spectre. But basically, Terrorblade is gigantic now. Maybe we even... I'm not sure how much 7-8 slotted Dota play we'll see in this version, but... Well, Ninja Boogie either way gets hexed, caught out. Now Puck beginning to chase as they blink, and this time the Doom's on a real hero. It's on to DD, who gets focused. The Chain Frost comes in. It's a beauty as well, but there's some illusions to tank. They're still bouncing day 20. They lose their gem. They've lost 2. They might end up dropping more. Spectre running to the left. Jo scattering to the winds as Jo gets 4-step down the cliff. He wants to chase this, but let's see. Buyback status right now for the Radiant. Only the Puck, who's not even dead. So these 2 heroes that are dead for 50 and 77 seconds. Xiao8 tries to cut the wave bottom lane, but it doesn't matter if Rave get 1 wave into the base. They've got 1 wave at the bottom lane. Not quite in, as they manage to find the Ancient Apparition, killing him off in the jungle. But for Rave, it's much more about these buildings. Looking for the melee racks now. They'll start to pound into it. Also, no buyback on the Ancient Apparition. During this time, the wave's cleared out, but it doesn't matter. The Swarm is here. Enter God mode for the Terrorblade as he will finish off 2 lanes of racks. They'll look for the Jo kills one. It looks like we just might go to a game 3 at the rate we're headed. Jo losing the one-on-one fight against Rio. This Centaur's big enough to take him. Mono. And now they'll take a 3rd lane of racks. Rave have cracked the space open. Too many lost fights. Way too many buybacks. A 4 and 8 Spectre. Everybody's in the negative on this Radiant squad. And with that, they just can't hang on, Blaze. The old boys, not able to 2-0 Rave, go to a deciding Game 3, and I believe go straight into a new patch for that Game 3. I'm not even sure if the players know there's a patch, but they're going to find out soon.
Yeah, and maybe breathe a sigh of relief if they've been frustrated by it in the past. But here, it's not going to be comeback city for OB once again. Fool me once, fool me twice. But yeah, Terrorblade, he just carries too hard. JO just was absolutely massive on this hero. 658 GPM, doesn't die but 3 times, and tries to make sure that that lead is maintained throughout the game. Also some great play from the Aghanim Scepter Disruptor. Really made it happen here, and yeah, just pursuing with this stampeding Illusion Army. Terrorblade really hammers it home, and it's a really solid game from them. So 56 minutes is what it takes, but in the end, the base is broken, and we go to Game 3.
And with that, guys, we will take a quick break. When we return, our final game of this series, only 1 team could go to the Grand Finals of iLeague. I'm LD, he's Blaze. You're watching Beyond the Summit, and we'll be right back.